Hey everyone, and welcome to today's News Tonight, the weeknight news shows where we're joined by special guests and our lovely patrons to discuss the day's gaming news. I'm your host, Ash Paulson, and I'm joined by my good friends and GVG co-founders Derek Bittner and Steve Bowling, as well as our very special guest, Michael Damiani from the Easy Allies. Damiani, man, how's it going?
It's going well. Been pretty busy lately. A lot of games coming out, but
right.
absolutely stoked to be on this after waiting my turn patiently here.
Well, we kept having some issues, I think, in the back. Something happened to your PC, right?
It was mostly my own end. Yeah, don't get me started on EVGA right now.
Oh, no, really?
Not very happy with them at the moment, but, that's a story for another day.
Bad.
But PC is back and in working order so that I can join you fine people here today to talk about video game news.
Yeah, man, and for me, this is a major milestone for me personally because I have wanted to get you have invited me on to Friend Code so many times now, and the Easy Allies in general have invited me on to do stuff with you guys, and I have always wanted to invite you on to GX, but I never had the opportunity to. We just that wasn't something we did much at GX, but now at GVG we can do that, and you were one of the first people I thought of, and I'm so glad that I can finally return the favor and invite you onto our show for once. So thank you so much for joining us, man. It means a lot.
Pleasure. Do you ever have that issue where I want everyone to be on my shows? I know so many people, and I feel bad because with Easy Allies, we have to have the allies on sometimes. But then I want all these special guests, and then it goes back and forth. That tug of war, it's can you just have allies on? But I feel bad because I know so many people haven't even been on it yet, and I go through my list. I'm oh my gosh, I haven't had these people on yet. I hope they don't think I'm it's where's the time go? I need that hyperbolic chamber, man, of Dragon Ball.
I hear you, man. Well, and we've actually recently learned that we've learned that it's the same for us. It's good to keep that balance though, because as much as we love having on guests, and we do very often, most often, our own patrons have told us that it's nice just to have the core GVG crew, or GV gang, as we're now known as, once in a while, too. So it totally makes sense if you just have the allies on, from time to time, That's who your patrons are there for in the end, after all.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree.
So before I
missed most of that because Puppy wanted to be on stream, and I said no.
Oh, Puppy should always be on stream. Maybe next time.
It'd be harder to get her out, so.
Hashtag no doggo Derek is your new name, man.
Oh, thanks. Make me sound
no
so
doggo
mean.
Derek. So before we move on, I just want to tell anyone in our audience who may not follow me on Twitter or whatever, I've been saying that my favorite reaction to Sephiroth and Smash is the Easy Allies' reaction. And it is fantastic, and everyone's is. But Damiani, yours in general, or yours specifically, I can feel your hype radiating through the screen, and the way you just start cackling as soon as you hear One Winged Angel and you catch all the Advent Children references. Man, yours is my favorite reaction, and anybody in our audience who hasn't seen the Easy Ally Sephiroth reaction, go do it after this, because it's fantastic. Safe to say, Damiani, that you're unbelievably hyped, like I am for Sephiroth, yeah?
Oh, yeah, Thursday, man.
Nice. I'm so excited. Thursday at 2.
Oh,
I need to know.
Sakurai deep dive is going to be something special. I'm totally stoked for that.
Are you like us and expecting it to be dropped that night?
We had a meeting today, and we're planning around that happening, hopefully.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to figure out who is available to just stream right after. Because Michael Huber was supposed to do a full God of War 2018 playthrough that he's been hyping up. I'm wait a second. That's when the Smash thing is, and if Sephiroth drops, we might need to bump you. And we're oh. But yeah. Hopefully, I see a lot of people claiming to be in the know, saying they predict it's happening that day. So I expect it. Yeah.
I figure it's going to be probably that day. If they push it to another week, if they release the following week like they did with Steve, then you're releasing a One-Winged Angel character on Christmas Eve, and that may not be the optics Nintendo are going for. Just a guess.
Also, having given people time to actually buy them, have time to play all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think Christmas Eve seems.
I don't think so either. Yeah. But no, man, I'm glad. We're all so hyped, and we may even do I think Steve and Derek, we were thinking of doing our first team stream for the patrons upon Sephiroth's release, correct?
Well,
yeah, where we actually play with the patrons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Nice.
As part of our executive producer tier, I believe it is, you get to play with us on multiplayer streams, and I think Sephiroth is probably the best way to kick that off.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I'd say so. Who is the best Seph?
yeah,
Exactly. Who
I
is
feel
the
like
best Sephiroth?
the core GVG crew probably makes for good ascending levels of difficulty. I'm easy. Derek is normal,
Nice.
and Ash is hard. I mean,
Yeah.
he said that himself multiple times on various streams.
Oh no, I have fought. I haven't. It's been a while since I played against Ash, but oof.
I will admit that I'm a little out of practice. I haven't been playing as much as usual lately, or as much as I'm usually able to, just because I've been so busy with other games we got to play, Age of Calamity, and I still want to make my way through Like a Dragon, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. I need time. I need to have I need to be Ultimecia, right? I need to become Ultimecia from FF8 so I can compress time with a K and have all the time in the world to play these games that I just can't get to. So one of these days. But well, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the news and get our first story up on the screen.
Real quick, I hate to interrupt, but I have a piece of breaking news.
Oh, I like that.
Breaking news.
Patron Loyal Crevice just edited their pledge from $10 up to $25, moving into the
Wow.
executive producer
Oh,
tier.
wow.
Welcome, my friend, just in time for the
Yeah.
gameplay we were just talking about. So thank you
I gotta
so much.
say, Loyal Crevice has been on a roll lately. They popped up in my streams over the weekend, being extremely generous with their donations during my streams. So, yeah, thank you once again so much, Loyal Crevice. You are incredible.
Indeed loyal.
Yeah,
I don't want to
very
call you
much.
a crevice. I don't know. I don't know if that's
loyal,
a
right?
compliment. But you are a good friend.
All right, can one of you guys get that into the doc while I'm going over the news?
Yeah,
just
we
want to
can
make
do
sure
that.
I don't.
I can do that real
thanks,
quick.
just so I
Yeah.
don't miss them
Sorry
at
for the
end.
interruption. I like to call those out the minute
No.
they happen. So
Those are always the best interruptions. By the way, it looks like we started a new hashtag, which is might be unfortunate in this case. Hashtag Ash's Hardman. Oof.
wow.
The less said about that, the better, I think. All right. Well, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our first news story of the day and get that up on screen. And that is, this actually pertains to a story that we reported on Friday about Satoshi, or the Japanese voice actor for Satoshi in the Pokemon anime, aka Ash, Rika Matsumoto. We were reporting on how she had been accused by an aide of hers, or an assistant of hers, of essentially, what was it? Was it embezzlement? Steve,
Embezzlement. Embezzling money meant
right.
for COVID and just sort
Right.
of taking the money for herself.
But as it turns out, that story actually came from Friday Magazine, which is essentially a Japanese tabloid publication. So you might want to take all that with a grain of salt. There's a whole Twitter thread that goes, kind of breaks down this magazine. And, what we're looking at here are the first few pages are a bunch of girls in bikinis. Apparently, around half the magazine is naked or nearly naked women in suggestive poses. Jeez. There's a 3-page spread on space art for some reason. This all comes to us from Dagasu on Twitter, by the way.
Dogasu's backpack. They're pretty well known for
Dogasu's
comparing the
backpack,
differences
yeah.
between the Japanese and English anime.
Okay, cool. There's also an art, Dog's Backpack says, there's an article in the magazine about an actress who, oh my god, drank beer on the street, which is a totally legal thing to do in Japan. So this seems to be a magazine that is known for sensationalizing things, again, like a tabloid magazine would. So maybe best to take, we're not saying the Matsumoto story isn't true, but perhaps take it with a grain of salt because consider the source, right? You guys have any thoughts on this?
I hate tabloids.
Well said.
Yeah.
I mean, I growing up and I had a babysitter and she always collected the tabloids and I'd see the articles and I'd what the heck are it's always about the same people about the same things and just new ways to sensationalize it. Man, I wish I was paid to lie.
Right.
We could fix that.
Yeah. I mean, it really is just paid to embellish the truth, right? And or even if there is truth to embellish in this case. Had you heard about this, Damiani, beforehand?
So I saw it pop up in my Twitter feed about this happening, and it seemed a little outlandish at first. I was like, wait, the voice actors okay, this sounds just too crazy to be true, but I guess we'll hear more about it. And then I saw this update and just made me think, this makes sense. Coming from a tabloid, something that specializes in celebrity gossip, this is what they want. It's just unverified claims that we're just going to publish it. We don't fact check. Here it is. We're throwing it out there because that's what people want. People sometimes want these fantasy things. That's why these things sold. But in an age like this, they're way more dangerous. And I think it's, it's very irresponsible. But I did a quick cursory glance at their wiki entry, and it's they've had a few controversies in the past, it seems. So I don't know if this, what the recourse will be over there in Japan, but yeah, hopefully this doesn't follow the actor around, because it being untrue, just because it was reported, that type of stuff, just because someone said it about them, it's gonna stick. I hope it doesn't become a stigma for them.
I think this will pass over pretty quickly. I think there was a chance of that in the first place, just because she's been the character for how long now. But now with this being highly suspect, it's okay, I think we're good.
Yeah.
God, it's so funny. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
No, I was just gonna say there's a part of me that could see either one of these things being true. A famous person being shitty is not doesn't surprise anybody, right? The more money you get, the worse traits can come out of some people. And by and large, that seems to be the rule rather than the exception. But also, we live in an era where fake news is a very real thing. Disinformation, misinformation spreads like wildfire these days, and you don't have to look very far in any community to find people that peddle that kind of stuff. Go on Twitter and find you can find 15 accounts that have tens of thousands of followers that just peddle baseless rumors about what Nintendo's going to do next year. So, people get quote unquote, they gain notoriety doing this kind of stuff. So it makes sense that people are also going to monetize that same kind of crap. So, I'd be willing to give, this person, Rika Matsumoto, the benefit of the doubt. I'd like to give anybody the benefit of the doubt and just say, hey, until I see something verifiable from a trustworthy source, maybe give this person a little bit of faith, rather than setting out to kind of destroy someone who's done a lot of good work so far.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the particularly damaging thing about all this, as you were saying, Steve, when rumors are spread about, say Nintendo, this is what Nintendo's rumored to be doing, Switch Pro rumored to be coming out in March. People take that as gospel. People take it as fact. And then when Nintendo doesn't follow through, then somehow they're in the wrong. They're not delivering on what they promised, which they never promised anything. And and when you extrapolate that and you apply it to an individual, we live in such a sensationalist clickbait culture that people will often just believe the first thing they hear about somebody. Oh, this famous person did something awful. They're going to assume that's true, and then they're not going to do the follow-up work when it's possibly revealed that it wasn't true. So these things, as you guys are saying, are particularly dangerous in today's day and age. And if it isn't true, hopefully she. This either just falls by the wayside, or if she's exonerated, or however that needs to happen.
Yeah.
I
saw a tweet today from somebody. This is partially related, partially unrelated, about just how infectious clickbait has become, because she's a teacher, and a lot of college students, for their thesis statements, they were basically making them sensationalized. You don't need to tease what it's going to be about, just state what it's going to be about, what the content's going to be. And it's that whole clickbait thing. It's been kind of infected how people do titles nowadays, and it's a little it's crazy. Also want to highlight something Azran said in the chat. It says, we need a magazine that sensationalizes cats named after Symphonia characters, a tabloid, if you will.
That's fantastic. I saw the same thing, and that's a grade A pun, or a grade S pun, man. That's awesome. I love it. Well, with that said, let's move on to our next story and get that up on the screen. And this is actually a kind of a two-part story. So we found out on Sunday that Take-Two had originally planned to purchase the game developer Codemasters, and then EA, being EA, totally gate crashed that takeover and made a counteroffer that was apparently better than Take-Two's. And fast forward to today, and now EA is officially acquiring Codemasters for $1.2 billion. So, yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily a good thing for fans of Codemasters games. I mean, this is EA after all, and they may drown them out. But I know, Steve, you played Dirt 5 recently, right? And you actually said you didn't like it very much, if I remember correctly.
I was not impressed at all with Dirt 5.
Interesting. Okay.
So Microsoft probably, it's the thing that if you asked me if I wanted it, it's absolutely what I would want. But they sent over like just loads of games with Series X review units. Like I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 or so games,
Jesus.
which means unless you're part of a larger team and you're all covering it, there's no way you're going to touch most of those games. So, I started looking up like which ones do things that are really important. And I think Dirt was on the list of games that had 4K 120 support. And it was, at the time, like one of 2 games or 3 that supported that feature. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll try it. And the implementation was just real bad. Like, my game would literally just pause and then catch up and then pause, like at regular intervals.
Oof.
And so I was just like, this is a cardinal sin in a racing game. It's a cardinal sin in almost any game, but particularly in a racing game. And I read the story and I was just like, Codemasters, okay. Like, I don't know. I'm struggling to think, like, I'm sure Dirt has a lot of fans. I'm sure other Codemasters games, but it's one of those developers where when their name comes up, I really struggle to think of what they've done. Like, I really struggle to, like, come up with games.
I've seen people ask in the chat, so I did a quick, wiki search on it, and for those games, it's mainly a lot of racing games, and I figured that's what they did. But, back in 2015, they apparently did Overlord, if anybody remembers that.
I liked that.
A lot of F1, Colin McRae Rally. It's a lot of adventure games, sometimes some tactical shooters, so kind of in EA's wheelhouse where they've done, they could be on Need for Speed or they could be on one of their shooters. We got a new Medal of Honor studio if we want, or Battlefield.
Michael Phone in the chat real quick says, Papa EA, where are we going? And if you haven't seen the comic, it's real grim. Like it's basically like, it's stick figures, but it's like that question is asked and he leads them to like a room and there's just a bunch of bodies and it's all these studios that EA's shut down. and it says something like sometime in the next 2 years or something like that, which is unfortunate, but I hope, I don't like to see any developer get shut down, but I don't know. I don't have strong feelings about Codemasters one way or the other.
Yeah, what about you, Damiani? Do you have any particular love or lack thereof for Codemasters?
Unfortunately for this one, you picked the wrong ally for this one.
No worries.
Bloodworth is our resident racing person. He actually has been spending a lot of time in Dirt 5. I don't think he has a glowing opinion of it at the moment, but in terms of Codemasters, anytime Codemasters came around, it's like, it's racing game. Even back at game trailers, the Codemaster code come in. Oh, it's probably F1 or like Colin
McRae.
Yeah, like something that was the old one that they used to do. And I think I even went to a Codemasters event at one point for one of those games as well, for a preview event. So I imagine, EA just wants to, bolster its portfolio by bringing in, some racing games that have those come out on a yearly cycle. It's just interesting how much the price tag is for it. The value that
seems like a
reported.
lot.
Yeah. Doesn't that seem like a lot? I'm not. This is not my wheelhouse, but man, that's a lot of money.
I mean, apparently they've been around since '86, so they've been like making, their first game was on the Amiga, so the Codemasters been around for a long time.
Well, if I remember correctly, the bids started around 700 million, and just escalated from there. And I can't imagine that EA didn't have some kind of report on how much their ceiling was for this purchase, like. So they have to believe they're worth the 1.2 billion they paid, but it just seems like an absurdly high number for a studio that doesn't produce like AAA, like games that everyone talks about, like one that flies relatively under the radar.
Yeah, right. I can only I'm only imagine that maybe EA is not happy with the Need for Speed franchise, and they want to do something new with it, and so maybe they want to bring in Codemasters to take. I don't know. That's one thing you can think of is because how valuable Need for Speed is for EA. That's like one of their biggest series. But maybe trying to like kickstart it a bit. This is something they see, or maybe they have an entirely different plan. I don't know. As you said, they did make some shooters with the Overlord series that they have as well. So it's like maybe they have other plans for it. Just who knows? It's just like, man, that's a lot of money, and I wouldn't be surprised though if we do hear something about it. If they're spending that much money, you're probably going to hear about a project from EA. You get one of those dev diaries, probably like next year. Watch. Whatever
watch
is next year, dev diary, EA dev diaries.
I got it. A more realistic Super Bombad Racing, since EA has to start with licenses.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
That said, they might need to inject some life into Need for Speed, because apparently a new game came out pretty recently, and I saw nobody talk about it.
Same.
Yeah, I didn't hear much chatter about it at all. And that was a series, regardless of whether you were into it or not, you heard about it. It was talked about. So that seems like a problem they might need to address, and this might be the solution. Yeah.
Need for Speed's so weird. I feel like I obviously I know it's not true, but I feel like I heard about Need for Speed Hot Pursuit coming out so many times over. Like, I feel like that name just kept coming up, like Hot Pursuit specifically. I just feel like I kept hearing about it even after it came out, and they just. I don't know. I just feel like I kept hearing that name, and it just never... Yeah, I don't know why.
Pirate Jake says it was a remaster of Hot Pursuit on PS3, which I do have and did enjoy, because that was made by... I forget the developers. The guys who did Burnout. So that's why I was so excited for it.
Oh, okay. Like you, Steve, I had to Codemasters is one of those developers where I'm not, I'm only vaguely aware by heart of what they've done. So I had to look up their gamography on Wikipedia, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're the racing game guys who aren't, Bandai Namco and anyone else who's doing EA. And Dirt 5, Dirt 4. But what's interesting is I actually want to check out Dirt 5, because as I understand it, I did a little research, and apparently Dirt 4 and below were all more on the racing sim end, where I guess Dirt 5 kind of threw all that out the window and doubles down on the arcade racer angle. And you guys know I'm a huge fan of arcade racers, so I've heard from you that it's not very good, and from some others in the chat who are like, yeah, it's okay. But I am curious, because arcade racers are, they're not very common these days, so maybe there's something there, but yeah.
I will go back now that it's out, now that the console's out and updates are out, and see if they've pulled it together. But yeah, in pre-release it was running pretty poorly, so that could change, but with 14 other games to cover, I just decided not to. So.
Totally understand. All right, well, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next story and get that up on screen. And this pertains to the Big N, and this is exciting. Nintendo just today announced their next Indie World presentation, and it's going to happen tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific, which I'm personally not happy about, because I'm not a morning person, but we'll be there, and it's going to be great. But yeah, Indie World. Indie World is always fun. I always look forward to seeing what they're going to show in each new one. And Damiani, I think let's have you take this first, because obviously I am on friend code with you most often, and you're a Nintendo guy. So what's your take on this?
I think the expectation is, it's good that they're having another one. I'm glad they gave us a little bit of a heads up. Usually at the Indie Worlds, they don't just drop these day of. They do give a little bit of a heads up. That's kind of nice. They do usually happen early in the morning, generally, so that's what you got to deal with. But I think a lot of the talk that seems to be going on social media is hoping and maybe suggestive that Hollow Knight Silksong might make a grand entrance here. In fact, we were kind of talking about how we're going to approach this coverage, and we had to prepare for the contingency. There's the slight potential it might be shadow dropped, because Nintendo did list it at the beginning of the year as a 2020 title. Obviously, that infographic was a pre-COVID infographic, so obviously the development might have been affected by the pandemic. However, if it stayed on track, we are in the waning months of the year, and who knows, this might be the time for it to steal a spotlight. It's only 15 minutes long, so it's a bit on the shorter side, and I could see them giving a good amount of time for this presentation to Hollow Knight Silksong, and culminating with hey, it'll be available later today or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that. I think the evidence people are using is that the developers of Hollow Knight retweeted the event, and that's usually a big sign.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems like
Definitely.
I still need to play the original Hollow Knight. I haven't played a little bit of it, and I need to just finish it. So it's right on there. A lot of people are expecting release dates, at least in the chat here, which makes sense. I don't know if we're going to get many new ones. This might be a little bit of like, hey, here's Silksong. Hey, here's a wider spread idea that Double Dragon Neon's coming out on the 21st. Hey, here's these other ones. I think somebody in the chat suggested Shovel Knight Dig. Is that the puzzle one, Ash, that we played?
No, that's Pocket Dungeon. Shovel Knight Dig is the randomly generated or procedurally generated one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing about that is I would love to see a release date or more info on Shovel Knight Dig and especially Cyber Shadow, but because Yacht Club has their own directs now, they kind of do their own Yacht Club Presents, which is essentially a Yacht Club direct. I feel like if they're going to announce those dates, it's going to be in one of their own presentations.
But they also get way more eyes with Nintendo.
That's true too. Yeah, they do. I really want to see more on Cyber Shadow, a release date or a new trailer or something. I am so hyped for that game.
So much fun to play.
Yeah, I am so excited for that game.
Silksong and Cyber Shadow are pretty much the two things I'm really interested in. Like, I honestly, I watch these for info on games that haven't been on my radar. That's my primary, purpose watching these, because they do a good job of highlighting games I haven't heard of yet, and then those become games that I'm eagerly anticipating later on. So as long as there's at least one really cool new thing, then I'll be happy. But man, if Silksong dropped, that would be huge.
Yeah. Oh no, it would be. And I mean, that's the golden goose, right? Every indie world we've had, every developer showcase we've had, people are like, Silksong, where's Silksong? And it feels like it's been in development forever. And of course, I'm sure it's going to be worth the wait. But that's the big, I think that's the one everyone's watching for tomorrow. But one more game I'd really like to hear something about is Axiom Verge 2.
Yep.
We know it's coming. Yeah. Oh, man, I loved the first Axiom Verge, despite some minor issues I had with it. But all we know is that it's coming. We got that one trailer, which served as the reveal, and that's it. We haven't heard anything. So hopefully Tom Happ has been able to, that's his name, right? Tom Happ, I believe, yeah. Has been able to make some progress and show us an updated look at the game. But either way, I'm sure it'll be worth it when it does arrive. But yeah, tomorrow, Indie World should be a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious what they're going to actually show off, because they only have 15 minutes, but I expect like maybe one or two shadow drops with most of these games coming out in January, maybe March, maybe even by summer.
Yeah, and for the folks asking in the chat if we're streaming this, yes, we are.
Yes, absolutely.
As I'm sure the Easy Allies are as well.
Well, about that. 9 a.m. and early morning lately does not seem to agree with a lot of us. Here's the funny thing. I was going to bring this up is that what do you think they will have a surprise in store for us? That seems to be the trick to Indie World showcases, whether or not they have that one more thing moment. And we've seen, for the Allies specifically, we've seen to have missed the ones people want us to react to live, and then we watch the ones where they don't really have that moment. So we haven't had a great track record when it comes to that. I don't think, especially after the Game Awards, I don't think they're going to have a big surprise. Maybe a new indie game is revealed that we didn't know about, but I don't think like that the Metroid 2D game being worked on by an indie developer dream that people want to happen is going to happen during this.
No.
Something like that pipe dream's not going to happen. I think Hollow Knight, Silksong would be like the biggest finish they do. So, but yeah, I guess to ask the three of you, do you think there's any chance there's some kind of surprise there, or do you think it's just going to be updates on things we've seen and then maybe Hollow Knight the big reveal?
I think probably the latter makes the most sense to me. Nothing too crazy. Probably just a bunch of release dates before, hey, here's Silksong. I have seen people in the chat discuss the possibility of another Nintendo indie crossover. Which is
always possible.
Always possible.
Or even a Cadence of Hyrule sequel, although there was DLC.
I think they're out of surprises for this year, like of that magnitude.
Probably.
I think that I think 2021 is going to be a year that Nintendo fires on all cylinders, but I feel like this is the last hurrah for a year that was pretty good. Not their best, but pretty good.
They might have something for January, Just like, hey,
Yeah.
here's something cool coming in January that you can be excited for.
Oh, I think there will be something that most people will agree is cool. I'm just saying I don't think it's going to be like Cadence of Hyrule level surprise.
Sure.
Like, I don't think we're getting a Nintendo/indie crossover. But everything I've said so far since starting GVG has been wrong. So,
Well, there you go.
All right, there
Nice.
we go.
I always hold out hope. Oh, go ahead, Damiani.
No, go ahead. I was going to point
okay.
out two things that their biggest announcements were usually around GDC and PAX for those Indie World showcases.
Right.
Anyway,
I always kind of hold out hope that there will be some sort of surprise Inti Creates announcement, because I love Inti Creates, and
Yes.
they love to shadow drop things. They love to like show people something for the first time ever and then release it on the same day, kind of like Blaster Master 02 happened, I think.
Good game. Such a good game.
Such a
too.
good game, and they leave it open for such a huge like there's such a huge cliffhanger. I need Blaster Master 03 in my life, so I always hold out hope that there will be some sort of surprise Inti Creates announcement, either even just DLC for one of their existing games. Although now that I bring them up, it does feel like it's about time for some Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 info, because all we got was that reveal. So we have the key art and we have a really early trailer, so it feels like maybe about time to get some new information. And I love Gunvolt, so that would be
I haven't
cool.
played Gunvolt since the first.
Oh yeah, Gunvolt 2 is great. Definitely check that out if you. Although, I mean, of course, Derek, you probably, as we all do, have about 500 other games to play already.
I mean,
But,
I'll be honest. The next big, like after Hades, the next big indie game I'll probably play is Hollow Knight. So
Yeah.
Right. Well, and in terms of your question, Damiani, if I think there will be any big surprises, I mean, it has been a long time since our last Smash character reveal. So, Fighters Pass 9, Shantae, put it in the books. Yeah, obviously no. But there will be people out there like, where's Smash? And unironically too, there will be people out there who be like, no Smash, garbage Direct, garbage anymore.
Yep.
Where's Smash? Yeah.
that goes right back to what we were talking about earlier, the previous news story about like Nintendo enthusiasts generally like assuming things should be the way they should be, and then when they don't turn out that way, they
How
get
dare
really
they?
upset.
Yeah.
I don't know. I missed who brought it up. Itiano Ben brought up 30XX possibility of that showing up. Maybe, but I think we're still like we played that back at PAX East Dash and it was fun.
Yeah.
but it's still
But it was
very early stage.
early. Yeah, it was a lot
I
of fun,
don't
but
think we'll
very
see
early.
30XX, but I want to play that with you, Ash. If we can get
Same.
dual codes for that, we can play through as X and Zero. Even though
that'd
they
be
don't have
so
the characters'
cool.
names, I'm down.
Yeah. Man, if they ever do if they are doing a PC version of that game, which they probably are, somebody's going to mod X and Zero into it.
Probably.
That would be one of the first thing people do. Azran127 is on a roll today with the puns. They say we need more Pulsin in Gunvolt, some DLC called Asher Striker Gunvolt, if you will. You are on a roll today.
Oh, boy.
I
Azran
love it.
127 has
Yikes.
also been on a roll in a significantly different way. They just edited their pledge from $5 all the way up to
Ooh.
$25, moving
What?
the live audience up to
Wow.
executive producer. I don't
who
have
is
a pun
this?
for that. Just thank you. That's Azran
Who is this again?
127.
I got to put it.
Azran127.
Oh, they did. Wow, they are on a roll.
Yeah, thank you
Jeez.
so much, Azran. Wow.
Jeez.
I had the phone in frame, waiting for the right opportunity for you there, Azran. Just waiting for a good segue for you.
No, it's
They
perfect.
are.
Well, we need to report on Indie World more often if that's what happens when we
Yeah.
do so.
Maybe this is why Easy Allies needs to stream Indie World as
Yeah.
well.
There, we're
Exactly.
gonna break the curse.
Yeah, let's tell one of the most successful Patreons on all of the internet how we do things.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Oh,
Everyone can
goodness.
always
But
learn. Yeah.
I'm
fair.
excited for Indie World. They're usually fun. We got neat things like Spiritfarer last time, I think.
Yep.
And,
Right.
Spiritfarer is so good.
It really is. I
still
need
wanna
to go
play
back
that.
and finish it.
Yeah, I mean, I need to just go and play it. I've heard so many good things from you, especially Derek. So one of these days, right? But moving on from Indie World, let's go ahead and get our next news story up on screen. And this is unfortunately a lot less exciting. This has to do with the continued absolute dumpster fire of a launch that has been Cyberpunk 2077. And CD Projekt Red just this morning issued an apology to players for Cyberpunk's poor performance on PS4 and Xbox One, and has even offered refunds for those who purchased the last-gen version of the game. However, now Sony and apparently Microsoft, although I haven't seen anything specifically about Microsoft, but at least Sony is denying those refunds despite CDPR offering them. So people are pissed, and Sony's basically telling people, hey, wait for the performance patches coming in January and February and deal with it, essentially.
Yeah.
Which...
Oof. Yeah, it kind of seems like CD Projekt Red offered this without clearing it with Sony and Microsoft. It was just like, yeah, refunds. Like, wait, what?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they meant to do this. I don't think it was like they forgot to. I think this is intentional, honestly.
No, I think so.
Put the pressure on them.
Their apology clearly says, like, turn to Microsoft, Sony. If not, you can contact us and we'll see. It says we'll try to do something about it, like, on your behalf. And I think early enough people were saying they were getting refunds from Sony by reporting that the software was faulty. But I think Sony probably saw the huge influx plus this messaging now. It's like, wait a second, no. Especially when they say they're patching. This isn't our fault. This is their fault. They made a faulty game, but it's like, well, you also certify it. But it's like, it's it's becoming another big mess for this launch. It's been kind of a big mess in and of itself. And I just think they're CD Projekt Red's kind of passing the buck along here by trying to like save face. Like, oh no, we're going to do a good thing here. Like, we understand these versions are, there's a problem with them. We have a roadmap to fix them. And in the meantime, if you don't want to wait for that, here's your refund. But the fine print says you might not actually get your refund. You might be stuck with your purchase.
Basically making themselves look like the good guys as much as possible.
Trying anything they can to get a positive spin, because I saw the Metacritic user score is I think it's down like a 2.7, which
oh wow,
certainly way lower than the bad reviews that people were complaining about before the game launched.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame, and I you guys know how I am. I usually like to try to give developers the benefit of the doubt, because game development is hard, and a lot of people don't realize just how difficult it is, especially the people who complain the loudest. But I have to say, even this first sentence of their apology sounds suspicious to me. I'm going to read it really quick. It says, first of all, we would like to start by apologizing to you for not showing the game on base last-gen consoles before it premiered, and, in consequence, not allowing you to make a more informed decision about your purchase. There is no way that wasn't intentional.
Yeah, exactly.
No way.
Look how they sent out review codes.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah, you're right, Derek. Yeah, how they no one got base version codes whatsoever. Do you see what OpenCritic had to do? They put a warning message, disclaimer on there saying these scores do not reflect these base versions, and they're going to leave that up there to inform people. They're basically making everyone else do the job for them, because they tried their best to hide and keep this information away from everybody until it was too late. And it's how do you do that without doing that as a calculated move?
To be fair,
exactly.
The situation surrounding Cyberpunk and review codes was one of the strangest I've encountered in the decade that I've been doing this. So we were promised, like GVG was promised, like at our inception, like, hey, you guys are going to get Cyberpunk review code. You guys are all good, whatever. And I was like, okay, cool, fine. And I let it go. And then I started realizing, like, other people were working on reviews, and I hadn't heard anything. So I reached out to my contact. And if you're unfamiliar, like, CD Projekt Red does some of their own PR, and then they also have, like, agencies that they work with to distribute code to other people. And apparently CDPR decided not to give codes to the agencies they worked with, and to cherry pick a handful of outlets that they chose to work with, right? And again, there's nothing theoretically wrong with that, but it also meant that they highly controlled the narrative on review day, like way more so than most companies do. So reviews came out for the PC version only, and typically running on very well spec'd out machines. Like nobody hopped in with a GTX 680 and tried this, like everybody had a good hardware rig to run this on. And the console, nobody, as far as I know, literally nobody played the console version of this game until like the night before it came out. And that was a big problem. Like I started streaming it, and fortunately I feel bad because I streamed it on a PS5, so it ran 60 FPS, albeit not looking nearly as good as PC. And I was like, oh, Cyberpunk runs great. You know, I'm talking about the whole time, like, it runs fantastic. And then I started seeing people, and I just assumed that, you know, because it was the PS4 version of Cyberpunk running on my PS5, that it ran roughly as well as it would on a PlayStation 4. And that was wrong. And so looking back at it, it really was very disingenuous to, like, not show that, hey, this thing runs at like 15 FPS on a PS4, and you're going to be lucky if the thing doesn't crash within 30 minutes of you starting. So that is definitely bad. Definitely like a not very good situation. And I wish that they would have been more honest with this, but I feel like this is kind of a result of a publisher that was hitherto unknown having like one really successful game, and then people wildly anticipating the next game after that because of how good The Witcher 3 in this case was. People were like, Witcher 3 was awesome. These guys are making a new game. I can't wait. And I think they just kind of didn't realize what they were in for to a degree. But yeah, there's definitely some deceptive marketing going on here.
Well, in a few ways, it's not dissimilar to what BioWare have been going through of late. You know, they delivered so tremendously with the Mass Effect trilogy and the earlier Dragon Age games, but then they've really gone downhill quite a bit since then with Mass Effect Andromeda, and I know people are really excited about the new Mass Effect they teased during the Game Awards. I know I am, because it appears to show Liara and maybe take place in the OG universe. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, there are some similarities there, and yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with Cyberpunk, but this has been, as I said, a dumpster fire of a launch for so many different reasons. And, you know, I mean, it's easy to make fun of because CDPR, you know, are kind of a problematic company in certain ways anyway. But I feel, you know, of course, I always feel bad for the developers, you know, on the people in the actual trenches who spent, 8 years of their life on this game? 8 years of their lives on this game. I hate that for
There's
them.
that whole thing, another part we didn't talk about with the bonuses. I remember reading about this in magazines back in the day where bonuses were tied to how well the game reviewed, which, no, don't do that to reviewers.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Where, if you give this game a bad review, all of a sudden you're dooming these employees to not get their bonuses just because you didn't like their game. Which they did reverse, again, but CD Projekt Red is continually showing themselves... Well, they're showing their ass all the time. Like, they just can't get anything right.
Yeah.
Yeah, currently it looks like it's sitting at a 90 on Metacritic, which is pretty high for a game with this many problems. But I think it also kind of speaks to the curated nature of the reviews.
Based on PC version.
Right. So over the weekend, I decided to pick up the PC version because I'd been talking to John from Digital Foundry, and he sent me over screenshots of how the game ran on his PC, and I was like, this is... It looks like the difference between a PS4 and a PS5 game. Like, it's huge. And sure enough, I started playing it, and I had to really, really fuss with it to get it working in the first place on my computer. But once I did, it looks a world apart from the console versions. It's almost embarrassing how much better it looks.
This speaks to two things you're already alluding to, like in the how much time they've been working on this game, the development team, and all the stories that came out about the crunch about it, and yet we're still seeing these problems where the obvious writing on the wall was, you should have delayed this game sooner, and you should have delayed it much longer out, and you should have given the teams enough time to finish this game and have the proper amount of time to polish it. This reeked of you trying to cash in by a certain time because of other, well, who knows, like outside pressure, investor, whatever the heck their financial structure is. I'm not familiar with how CD Projekt Red is funded over there, but as we know with all development studios, that they have their fiscal calendars, fiscal years. Games have to come out, and there's so much pressure for a game to come out at a certain time. That is, the dangers of that, sticking to those schedules and sticking to that kind of, approach to game development. And honestly, this is another instance, a shining example of, is there any truth to developing games for older hardware holding back next generation games or games from reaching their true potential? And I think Cyberpunk might be that first game where, like, this game had no chance of ever really running on base hardware. Like, it doesn't matter how much time they give them. This isn't happening. They should have just ripped off that Band-Aid, said it's just coming to PS5, Xbox Series X, and S, and PC, sorry PS4 and Xbox One users, you're out of luck.
It's just not going to look good enough or run good enough. It just can't happen. And now these developers are stuck crunching to get patches out. So
it kind of reminds me of, in a much less severe sense, of course, but it kind of reminds me of the No Man's Sky situation where they seemingly released something they knew was not living up to what they had promised and directly ran counter to, in fact, to what they had promised. So, Dami, I agree with you. I mean, there's no way they didn't know going in that people were not going to be happy with the last-gen versions, and it would have been much more kosher of them to just cancel them outright and take the hit early on and be honest, I think, than now forcing their team to crunch post-release and try to fix the game. So, and not even just the past-gen version or the last-gen version, but also the other problems that are endemic to every version of the game, like the clipping, which I guess they've already released a fix for, but
clipping is a real nice way
the
to...
epilepsy thing, and there's so much to these poor people have to work on, and the game's out now, so it's a shame. But well, let's go ahead and move on to our next story and get that up on screen. And this is a pretty quick one, just a fun little thing that this actually came out on Friday. The Twitter account for Funimation posted an 8-second video at 3 p.m. on the dot on Friday, basically suggesting that a Switch app is in the works for Funimation. So they didn't say anything other than, or do anything
apparently
other than post this
apparently
video.
There might be more information because Rob Arman X says it comes out tomorrow.
Yep.
Oh, then I guess maybe that just came out
yeah.
today. Oh, it comes out tomorrow. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the heads up, Arman X. But yeah, so it comes out tomorrow. I don't hear good things about Funimation's streaming service, though. I hear there's a lot of buffering.
A lot of good content, but it runs about as well as Disney Plus, in my experiences with Disney Plus.
Wait, what?
Okay.
Disney Plus
Disney Plus
really
works
well.
well for me, actually.
Yeah.
Disney. I use Disney
yeah.
Plus on the PlayStation 4, and it takes so long to load things
okay.
up. And meanwhile, Netflix is like that.
I see.
Funimation on PC, when I watch it on app or wherever, also has the same issue. Sometimes they have to just refresh in order for my list to show up for it. But it's nice to actually have more of these types of apps down there. And Funimation is apparently a bit more valuable right now because they just acquired Crunchyroll. So tons of anime.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
a lot
a
of
really, really, really good match. Like, I typically use the Funimation app for old school Dragon Ball, and I will use Crunchyroll for more, like, contemporary stuff.
Right.
That said, I do agree with you, Derek, that the Funimation app on PS4 sucks. Like, it is so bad and slow and janky and hard to use. And maybe, I don't know the Disney Plus performance because Disney Plus is built into every TV I have in my house somehow. So I just use like the built-in app on the TV, and I wish that we'd get something like that. But I imagine this is a really cool announcement for either people that travel a lot with their Switch or for younger kids that don't have uninterrupted access to a TV in their home, but have a Switch, right? Like, because I can't imagine that I'd want to really watch anime on my Switch that much. Because there's way too many cool games that I want to play on my Switch. Like if my Switch is on, I'm playing a game on it. But I do think it's cool that the Switch is finally getting some media apps for people. Like I would love to be able to tell my kid, my daughter loves Dragon Ball, and so I'd love for her to be able to just watch it on her Switch in handheld mode as opposed to taking up a whole TV, just to watch that. So I don't know. It's a cool announcement, but I'm not like hyped for it or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge anime fan myself, but I've never really felt the need to subscribe to Funimation. Like, I mean, I know Netflix doesn't have everything, and neither does Hulu, but I gotta say, Netflix and Hulu both have such a wide-ranging selection of anime, both subbed and dubbed, that I feel like I'm well served by them, that I don't really need Crunchyroll or now Funimation. So I don't personally see a lot of value in this, even as an anime fan, but for those who do have a Funimation subscription, that's great. And, hopefully the app works well.
Does My Hero come out on Hulu? Because that's why I got Funimation.
It's I don't know if it's on Hulu. I've seen it on Netflix.
I think it's on.
I don't know if it's the most
I think it's on Netflix.
Current. That's the thing.
I don't think I've ever seen My Hero on Netflix, but
I'm pretty sure it's on there. But I think you're bringing up the point about Funimation being on there and like having obviously Funimation being on there and anime and stuff like that being like their tweet I saw today actually, I saw a link from something from you guys. Actually, maybe it was in one of your Discord channels. The tweet said a line says the first anime app or something, like the first major anime app on Switch or whatever. We're the first to bring anime to Switch or something. And I shared that with some of the allies, and Bloodworth pointed out, like, that's really they're going to go with the line, the first thing to bring anime to Switch. That's like one of their taglines. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I know what? I wonder if that's a subtle dig at Netflix. Netflix not being on there, and Netflix being a major one of their major competitors since the acquisition of Crunchyroll. And so it's not like it's Sony, Funimation, Crunchyroll all together over there buying it from AT&T. I can't help but wonder if that's the case there. It wasn't like to be like cute. Yep. It was, hey, where are you, Netflix? We have your big anime catalog.
2 pieces of breaking news. One that is actual news, by the way.
Okay.
Nintendo of America just tweeted 5 more titles are coming to the SNES and NES Nintendo Switch Online collection on the 18th. For the Super NES, we're getting Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, it finally happened.
Super Valis 4, which I'm personally hyped for. I actually really like the Valis series. Tough Enough, and for the NES, we are getting Nightshade. That just happened.
I need to look these up.
There's that, and then we also have a new $10 patron, just brand new to the GVG community, Ben Frick. So if you're watching the show, Ben Frick, I'm sorry I don't know your username, but welcome aboard. Glad to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Ben
for signing up. Yeah, if you're here. If you're not here, thanks anyway. But
that's actually kind of cool. The trailer for the DKC 3 shows the code to how to have the bonus rooms holiday theme since it's coming out around Christmas. That's fun.
Cool.
Very nice.
I love that. I forgot about that. I know one of our fans and patrons who is incredibly happy right now at that announcement, being Kiddy Kong Facts, of course.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
funny.
Well, enjoy your moment, Kiddy Kong Facts. This one's for you. But no, it's honestly, DKC 3. It isn't as good as DKC 2. I still think it is quite a good game. I think it's maybe it's dogpiled on maybe a little bit too much. Kiddy himself is not. Kiddy himself is trash, but the game he's in. Not so bad. Not so bad.
I mean, it really should. I've said this before. It really should have been Donkey and Dixie for this game.
Right. I mean, Kiddy Kong Facts know I'm no. They know that I'm no fan of Kiddy Kong, so me calling him trash is okay, I think. But no, honestly, DKC 3 is a good game, and to have the entire trilogy on SNES Online now, I think is really cool. So I know most of the other games in that lineup, but Nightshade, I think you said, I have not heard of that on the NES. So I'm looking forward to checking out the trailer and seeing what what at least that game is about. I think I know the others.
Nightshade is a point-and-click adventure game on NES, so it's sort of a weird hidden gem, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Don't know if I thought that was that. I looked it up and I was like, "Yep, that's exactly what I thought it was." And okay, all right. They go for interesting choices for the thing, that's for sure. But as Pyro Jake says, it is really cool. They actually finished the DKC trilogy.
Yeah. No, it really is. All right. Well, it was some fun breaking news on both fronts. But let's go ahead and I don't know, Steve. Do we have a screen for this, or are we just playing it super safe for this?
We have a screen, but it's
okay.
Just,
Cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get that up on screen. And this is unfortunately a bit of a downer to end on, but at least we're going to frame it in a positive public service announcement way. And that is for those of you who are looking forward to Resident Evil 8, a.k.a. Resident Evil Village, whatever you prefer. Beware of spoilers, and I mean serious spoilers, because the Capcom ransomware leak has struck again, and now Resident Evil 8's entire story has been revealed. It has been leaked onto the internet. Multiple cutscenes from the game are available online now, including the full ending. So we don't know because we haven't looked into them. Yeah, and we're not going to tell. Away. Yeah, we're staying far away. We're not going to tell you where to find this. We're not going to even endorse that you do. We just want you to know that if you're looking forward to the game, be very careful. As we understand it, everything is out there. So be very careful. And that's really all we have to say about that, right? Unless you guys have anything to add.
I think it
sucks.
Yeah, it sucks that stuff like this happened. It sucks that this leak is probably going to keep going. I mean, on the upside, there are some things that came out of it that I was happy to hear, like Street Fighter 6 is a thing, stuff like that.
Right.
But
Well,
I
probably don't want to say many more of those ransomware things, just to keep the surprises for people who are avoiding it.
Sorry, yeah. Figured everybody knew that one already. But,
No,
yeah,
I've actually made it a point not to look at the Capcom stuff.
Oh yeah.
Beyond a few things here and there.
I don't actually know where to find any of this stuff, and I'm kind of proud of that fact. But it sucks because we all know that game companies plan things out years in advance. Like, we all know that, they don't wake up one day and say, hey, let's release a new Zelda in 2 years, guys. They've probably been planning for, to take this out of the context of Capcom. Nintendo's probably been planning Breath of the Wild 2 since before Breath of the Wild 1 wrapped. And so it's just kind of sad to know that, we now kind of have this far of a look into the future, and that stuff like this will probably keep coming. This probably isn't the last we've heard of this leak.
No,
so,
it isn't.
It sucks for all the people that are working so hard, but fortunately it's not. You kind of have to go looking for it to get a lot of the stuff that people are talking about.
Yeah,
How do you feel
thankfully,
because I'm sure you didn't look into it too much.
I'm sorry?
How did you feel about it? Because I'm sure you've stayed away from this as well.
Yeah, we've covered the fact that it has happened. We've talked about it a few times. My general thoughts is I'm not a personal fan of people who leak the existence of a game to spoil the surprise, and spoiling like story details, stuff like that. That's just like scummy. It doesn't really do anyone any good.
Yeah.
So this situation is pretty just trash, and I've heard. I mean, I've not looked at some. I looked at a few of the things at the beginning because I thought it was just like some. I didn't know what it really was, and I was like, oh, this is starting to get bigger. I should stop looking at this now because maybe this is. And I started to line up with some things I'd heard. I was like, okay, some of this is. Oh, this isn't supposed. Okay, I'm out of here. But the thing I wanted to say is that I also kept hearing that like there was more than just game details being part of this ransomware, which that's like super shitty. It's part of my language there. I don't know.
Oh no, you're fine.
Allowed to use.
You're fine.
Cursing and swearing on here, but
that
like anything that dives into like personal information and like threatening people's livelihoods and stuff, that's not cool at all. I'm cool with leaks that expose or exposing something that needs to be brought to light. Like stuff we've seen this past year, that's absolutely the good type of stuff. Or the cool stuff, like you'd see like on the cutting room floor, or like Did You Know Gaming, stuff like that, where you would never have heard about this canceled project unless so and so leaked like the prototype. That stuff I'm cool with and I love, as long as it's through legal means.
Yeah.
That Nintendo leak earlier this year was amazing, but the circumstances around it were it's a little weird to touch that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead. No, go for it. I was going to read something from the chat.
No, yeah, so the hard part about this is, as a fan, some of this stuff is really exciting, right? Like, knowing these things purely as a fan can be really exciting. Like you mentioned, Damiani, the Nintendo leak, like, I was devouring that, while simultaneously wrestling with the fact that I probably should not be looking at this stuff based on how it came about. But it was like, oh my god, Yoshi used to have a beak. Like, I don't know why I needed to know this, but it filled some part of my soul that I didn't know was empty. So it is difficult because there's a part of me that is a big Capcom fan and wants to know this stuff, but then there's a part of me that, like, yeah, but it came about through the worst possible way, and I just can't condone it, and therefore should try my best not to look at it. And fortunately, I've seen a few things here and there, like on Twitter and in other places, but I haven't, like, actually seen any of the real material from this, where with the Nintendo leak, I felt more like it was everywhere, like it was just impossible to avoid.
Yeah, you saw like, the actual visuals of all this stuff. With the Capcom leak, all I've seen is lists.
Right. Until today, unfortunately.
Yeah. One of your members in chat, sorry, quick 112. That's what I was referencing, like personal employment stuff, like people's details, like financial data of people, like that stuff was apparently also a part of that. Yeah, I
think somebody's passport was in there as well.
Crap.
Like it's
yeah. Pirate Jake puts it perfectly. This makes me feel so bad for those who work so hard. The writers, the animators, the developers, all of them. And that is so true. I hate it. I hate so few people seemingly think about the human element behind these leaks. And just for people to have years of their lives, of their work, their careers, their work.
Stuff. I want the stuff. I need the stuff.
Just to have the piss taken out of all that just so some leaker, well, in this case, not a leaker can have their 15 minutes of fame, but because people want money. I mean, the ransomware thing, that's just, I mean, it fucking sucks, honestly. And I feel so bad for, the dev team at Capcom who worked on this game. And, we saw this happen earlier this year with The Last of Us Part 2, and that was horrible as well, because those spoilers came out without context, for what people were actually seeing, and that caused people, of course, to judge the game early. And, of course, many of those same people were people who would judge the game no matter what because of, the problems they have with it. But it just sucks. I hate to see this happen, and you also see the positive effect that things not leaking can have. Going back to Sephiroth and Smash, even before that, Cloud and Smash. Can you imagine how much? I mean, they'd be exciting no matter what. Yeah. But how much less cool would it have been had those leaked?
Sephiroth. You see the something else it's Sephiroth. It has to be Sephiroth.
Yeah. Yeah, so I hate this. I hate leaks. I mean, it's, like you said, Damiani, there are certain kinds of leaks that I'm okay with and that I think are important and that I like to see, but not ones where there is a human element where, it causes people's livelihoods to suffer and or years of their lives to just be the work they've done leaked in a way that was never intended. It really sucks. And hopefully the damage can be mitigated from here on out, but I feel like the damage is already so severe.
Something about Capcom, man, as Romsky puts out. Remember Ryu being leaked in Smash? I remember we were near E3 and we walked around LA.
Wasn't that data mining?
San Francisco.
It was data mining. Yeah,
person, started streaming it.
I don't feel. I'll be honest. The Ryu thing, I didn't feel bad about. Like Nintendo could have.
They should know better.
Could have not included him before he was ready to go. Like just carve that piece of the code out and leave it for a later update. That was, honestly, I didn't feel bad at all about that one because that was, in my opinion, just poor data management practice. Like you should have just kept Ryu out of the code of the game, knowing people decompile your updates and pull stuff out of them. It's, to me, at least at this point, and by now, this is something that I think is a lot more common sense to developers. Like, don't leave stuff that you're going to later announce in your public updates. Like,
right?
Yeah, it's one thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
112 says, by the way, shout outs to Nintendo keeping Sephiroth under wraps so well. Apparently, even known Nintendo leakers didn't know about him. Nintendo has been well known to feed false information to leakers, I think.
Yeah, you know what?
Just to sort of root out who says what.
I mean, I will say that the usual people who talk to me about Nintendo stuff have been a lot quieter lately. And so something's going on over. They've gotten locked down a bit more than even, they're notorious for being a company that locks down their information, but they seem to have clamped down on leaks pretty well this last few months. Because, I mean, I used to hear stuff like 3-4 months out and it would end up panning out, and now the usual suspects are much quieter than they used to be.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully that holds true for the rest of the Smash characters. I love being completely in the dark. I mean, that feeling, that butterflies in your stomach feeling when we started watching the Sephiroth trailer, literally not knowing who's coming. That's so much more fun than it being leaked. So hopefully Nintendo can continue to keep doing what they're doing because it's working. And, it feels like it's too late to say that Capcom can hopefully mitigate any future damage because it's already so bad. But hopefully, they can get these people prosecuted because they deserve it. And, but yeah, so kind of a downer note to end on, but PSA, be careful, keep your eyes open or your eyes closed, as it were. And, just, be spoiler safe. And that brings us to the end of our news stories for today. So, as always, thank you all so much for joining us live for our patrons who have. And before we sign off, though, as usual, Damiani, where can our fans and our patrons and everybody find you?
Sure. If you want to check out Easy Allies, you can find us on youtube.com/EasyAllies or when we stream on twitch.tv/EasyAllies. We're also fully Patreon supported as well, and we're at patreon.com/EasyAllies. If you want to follow me personally, you can follow me at Damianicus on Twitter.
Awesome. Cool. Well, man, thank you so much for being on the show. You are welcome back anytime as well, and please let the other allies know. We'd love to have them on anytime as well. Yeah. So we want to have the whole crew on at some point. So thank you so much for being here, man.
Pleasure. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, well, before we sign off, we, as always, have to thank all of our patrons at the producer tier. Thank you so much for helping to make this show happen, because it would not be happening without you and all of our patrons. In addition, an especially massive thank you to our patrons at the executive producer tier and above. And those wonderful people include Rob Arman X, Dan and Twistle, Z Patty, Adam O'Sullivan, Floating Mew, Christopher, The D-Pad, Vesmio, Waffle King, Kieran Phillips, Benny Yao, Rosa Bowling, a.k.a. Mama Bowling.
Hi, Mom.
Geller. That was a bit late this time, Steve. I was like, is he not going to say it this time? Oh, man.
I was waiting.
Nice. Geller, Shiny Turkey, Titus Malvolio. I keep doing that. Jake Pelka, Michael Foam, Mitchell Herring, Jay Acosta, Game Explain, Charles Saz, Andrew Medeiros, Jonathan Belmare, Kitty Kong Facts, congrats on DKC3, Patrick Harrison, 112, Scott Barber, Evernight Studio, and for the first time ever, Rocked the Cat, Loyal Crevice, and Azran127. Thank you all so much for supporting us. And remember, you too could become a patron over at patreon.com/gvgaming, where you can support us at the $5 tier to watch this show live like the rest of our patrons have and interact with us and our special guests throughout the show. But you can also support us for as little as $1 a month. And there's several different tiers for you to consider. Of course, even if you choose not to support us on Patreon, we appreciate you anyway, because you're here, you're supporting us through just by following the show. So we appreciate you no matter where on the Patreon spectrum you fall, or if you don't fall on it all. So thank you so much for supporting us. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to Good Vibes Gaming for more good times like these. But until next time, guys, good night and good vibes.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.